Going on to the culture part of the podcast, you have Disney fired Rachel Zegler. Oh, the former star. What's the opposite of a star? The former Bud Light of Disney with their Snow White film. And just as a little refresher of who is Rachel Zegler, I believe her personality and perhaps lack of intellect can be summarized perfectly in a 15-second interview when she was on, I believe the Hollywooders call it the red carpet. Although ironically, they should probably call it the blue. They should really change it to the blue carpet given their voting demographics. But nevertheless, going to this brief 15-second interview with Rachel, the infamous Rachel Zegler.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
She seems to have an abnormal amount of teeth. Almost like a jackal? No? A donkey? Perhaps. So, this is someone who brilliantly decided they were going to get a role for an iconic Disney intellectual property, one of their best intellectual properties to date. I mean, everyone knows Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And she took on the role, and every media interaction she's had, she's pejoratively talking about the film. Insulting the creator, insulting the original idea, the concepts, and literally saying how the new one is going to have basically nothing in line with the old one. So the new one will have no prince, apparently. It will not have seven dwarves, because that apparently is pejorative to give them job opportunities. There's seven weirdos and one dwarf, or little person, whatever term you prefer to use. So they're thereby actually taking jobs away from people who could have breakout roles who are part of that specific community. All because you have a Hollywood elitist, what is it, Dinklage? He says pejorative because he says the dwarves in the film lives in caves. So it shows how mentally vacuous he is. If you watch the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, they don't live in the caves, they work in the caves. So perhaps showing his elitist, he says they shouldn't work in the caves. Which, there's a lot of great jobs, don't get me wrong. If I can go to a cave and get diamonds and jewels like they did in the film, that easily, they weren't using big machinery and taking geological mapping or any of that stuff. It was quite obvious. But nevertheless, it really has nothing to do with the original film. And I believe the original story is also who poisoned her. Poisoned Snow White. Which perhaps shows last time I watched it, I was, geez Louise, had to be elementary school. So in the original idea is the evil queen was jealous of Snow White's looks. So she decided to poison her. Now, in the new film, the evil queen is infinitely more attractive than Snow White. So another lack of continuity with the original film. Now, a lot of people are also saying Snow White, if you read the original manuscript and original story, they reference her skin being as white as snow, which makes sense. So there are also some people that were upset with the film being a cliche race swap, where phenomenon you see in Hollywood, as well as especially Netflix, where they do the race swapping. I think a lot of people are annoyed with that because it's only one way. It's only old, historically white roles that are being changed to other meltone featured races. It's a nice way to put it. So it's never the other way around. So I think a lot of people are upset partially because of the lack of logic, but also perhaps equality, because again, it's only done one way. So there's a lot of controversy around the new Snow White to begin with. And again, every interview she had, she was saying how much she hates the film. She even, in some interviews, said she hated the ride at Disneyland or Disney World, which again, they make a lot of their money from those worlds. Those things are huge revenue generators for the company. That's where a lot of their profits come from, especially recently, as Disney Plus continues to lose money. Disney Plus is not profitable yet. Their goal is for it to be someday. So she's basically made a career of being, for lack of a better term, insufferable. Which again, perhaps someone needs to update Wikipedia or Urban Dictionary. Her picture would surely be there. And she was a star, but of course, like all Disney films, it looks like it's going to be a big flop. And they apparently are firing her. Now, it looks like the cost of production for that film, and this is by multiple third-party analysts and estimates, that cost to be around $336 million. Which again, people ask, why can't Disney make a profit? One of the biggest issues, in addition to making movies that can't sell because begins their politics, they remove all the morals and values from all the original stories. Disney is basically a rudimentary copy machine where every film and thing that they make is just a copy of a copy of a copy. And if you do that on a traditional copy machine, the image actually degrades every time. So a lot of people say they're running out of new ideas or ideas at all. And one of the other issues is the cost of production is ballooning exponentially. Look at a Marvel film. Granted, it's basically just a supercomputer these days with how they make it. Those film budgets just defy all logic. It's gotten to the point where they can't make money on these things because the only conceivable way they could make money is if they sold billions of tickets and billions of dollars of merchandise. Which again, because of the things I just said previously, they're not really getting. Now, they say the production cost was about $336 million. But that's also before you have this awkward 1 year post-production. And a lot of people are debating, are they timing the delay of the film because of Rachel Zegler? Or is it because of the political climate? Why are they pausing it? You see this with a couple of intellectual properties, I believe. What's the Marvel woman name? Marvel Girl, or Captain Marvel Woman? Whatever that film is allegedly called. They delayed that like 3 to 4 times. And every time you delay it, it's costing you money. Because one of the biggest costs when it comes to these films is advertising and marketing. So the rule of thumb in Hollywood traditionally is whatever the movie costs to produce, in terms of paying the actors, the editors, the costume designers, all those folks, advertising is usually double. So if you ever wonder how you're seeing so many commercials for a specific film, it's because they're spending a lot of money on it. Quite literally a disproportional 2x cost. So that means they're probably spending another, $700 million on marketing. So this needs to make a little over $1 billion to break even. And again, they're not the government. They're not supposed to be in business to break even, although that'd be good if the U.S. government could break even. More often than not, they're just increasing the debt thanks to both sides of the political aisle, unfortunately. But in this case, it looks like they're finally cutting her. So does that mean they'll have to do more editing to remove her completely? Which undoubtedly would probably increase the quality of the film. But again, then that also goes to the cost. So it'll be interesting to see how exactly they fire her. Perhaps they're just going to remove her from the interactive world of Disneyland and Disney World, and maybe they just want her to shut the heck up. Well, many people think that and wish that, but a lot of people, including myself, would think you could probably mitigate some of the negative, perhaps lost sales of Disney. I mean, if you just have her shut up. Because every time she talks, she hates the film. It's one of those fascinating things where no logical company would hire someone to do that. And yet we see that more and more these days. Perhaps most infamous with Bud Light when they hired the brilliant Alyssa Heiderscheld. She bragged bombastically on LinkedIn, the very first woman in marketing for this alcohol beverage company. And in an interview, she said she didn't like the brand. She said, it's kind of fratty. And she went on to destroy the brand. Both, metaphorically and fiscally speaking, Bud Light losing $400 million in sales compared to the same fiscal quarter last year, that being fiscal quarter 2. Terrible. But they hired her. And she was talking smack about the brand, and they, as the youth might say, and they didn't fire her. So it'll be interesting to see. It looks like Rachel Zegler has also been cut from Paddington 3. And I know a lot of people all 18 fans of Rachel Zegler are sorely disappointed. I know it hurt. I know they're probably hurting really bad. Perhaps they'll have to just tune into her Twitter notes or whatever you call the videos. I know they rebranded to X, so it'll be interesting what they call the videos. But how will they get their daily dose of insufferable Rachel Zegler? Now, do you think the film will make a profit now that she's out of the involvement? Do you think at this point, with how much they spent on Snow White, the film, and the marketing, and how much they'll have to increase the marketing budget, is it possible for them to make a profit at this point? I can't but think the Magic 8 Ball would, for Disney, in this case, as most cases for Disney, the Magic 8 Ball would inevitably say, the outlook is not so good. Other interesting cultural news, I try to fix my focus on the camera, which in theory it's working about 80% of the time. And I appreciate anyone who has suggestions for software. Currently using OBS as well as a mixture. This is a Kaizen Razor 4K camera. Still look for the software to do the picture-in-picture. Suggestions greatly appreciated. I tried some. Again, not panning out currently, but I am exploring, trying to find better solutions. Nevertheless, Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. I really appreciate it. Don't forget trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of September. I know it's a tall order, but if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget Type Technologies is giving me a free flamethrower with every September purchase. Yes, you can mount it to an AR-15 like all awesome accessories can. Go to toppingtechnologies.com to learn a little bit more. And also, don't forget to take the time to like and comment. The feedback is greatly appreciated, trying to build this out better and better. Trying to find a software that will do really well in terms of production, picture-in-picture. So I have clips above me. I've tried a couple, but they keep crashing. So suggestions are greatly appreciated as we make the show better together. So comments and likes are also appreciated. Lastly, and also, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.